Obviously this is the new INEOS Grenadier, quite new to the market, coming into production next year. Under the bonnet here we have a choice of petrol diesel engines, both BMW derived engines, 3 litre, 6-cylinder turbocharged engines, very much tuned for torque, not for power. The diesel engine in this one, 241 horsepower, 550 newton meters of torque. That torque is a lot of torque, and it's produced very, very low down as well. Behind the engine we have a ZF 8-speed auto transmission, and it's a very smooth transmission. The likes of BMW, Rolls-Royce use it as well. And what we see driving this vehicle is that with that torque produced very low down, we get to about 1700 RPM, and it just changes gear. And you never really feel it change gear, but the revs stay fairly constant. It maximises the torque for you, keeps the vehicle moving, maximises the grip, minimises the wheel spin. On the back of the gearbox is a transfer box. That gives us a high and low range option, plus a standard locking centre differential. That's firing the power to the axles front and rear. We've got Carraro axles from Italy, front and rear of the vehicle. Options to lock the diffs in there if we want to. All of this is built around our own box section ladder frame chassis. It's a very sturdy piece of equipment, up to 4mm thick in places. The suspension coming off of that, it's very simple, it's very straightforward. There's no air suspension on here. The whole idea of the vehicle is something simple and practical. So we have gone for coil springs and damper suspension. Progressive rate springs and dampers, they give a really controlled ride. When you're driving this vehicle off-road, it's really supple. There's a lot of suspension movement there, and it really helps to iron out all those big hits you might get off-road and give you a good, comfortable ride on the inside of the vehicle. Let's move around the side of the vehicle. This one has the optional raised air intake for dusty environments. And along the side of the vehicle here as well, we have our utility belt option. Now this utility belt is already used by potential customers, enables them to mount equipment on the side. You might add a workbench or a tool rack on here. This rack on the door here will hold 110 kilos as standard, and you can put 80 kilos on the rear two racks. That's quite a lot of weight. And we'll have a look at the interior of this vehicle. And this is our interior prototype vehicle, very much as the vehicle will look in production next year. So seating wise in here, we have Recaro seats. They are made out of a material that is water repellent and stain resistant. So if you do get them wet, it bubbles up on the top of the surface, you can wipe it off. You can wipe it off with a damp sponge as well. After that, you can hose out the vehicle inside here. There's bungs in each of the footwells. You can remove the bungs, put your hose pipe in there, let all the water out, keep it clean. All the switch gear is splash proof, so you don't have to overly worry about getting the instruments wet in there. In the middle of the vehicle, obviously the normal controls, a traditional handbrake working on steel cables to the rear brakes, nothing electronic because it tends to be a little bit unreliable at times. Again, keeping things simple for our customers. Gear selector right next door to it with the ZF transmission. On the far side, the lever on the far side is the high and low range and the centre differential lock as well. Rotary control in the middle there as well. That enables you to control the screen at the top. It's a touch screen as well, but you can control it from there. In the centre there, the switches down there, that's all your everyday switches really. Heater controls, seat heating, radio volume, the things you're going to use all day, every day. If we move up onto the roof switch panel though, the switches there are going to operate all the off-road mode controls. You've got off-road mode itself, you've got hill descent control, wading mode, front and rear diff locks if you've gone for those options. They're up there for a practical reason. They're up out of the way. You've got to activate it on purpose. If you're driving and it's getting a little bit challenging, you don't want to take a hand off the steering wheel, your passenger can activate it as well. So there's a good practical reason again there for doing that. At the back of that panel is another 2 rows of switches. They're pre-wired for the future. So if you want to add a winch on the front of the vehicle, a light bar, work lights around the back of the vehicle, night heaters on the inside, the wiring's all ready to go. You can just plug it in and you've got a ready to go there. Instrument panel in the middle of the vehicle at the top, the touch screen there. Very simple touch screen, but it's all your information for the vehicle. On the right hand side of that screen will be your speedometer, rev counter, gear indicator, what gear you're in, petrol gauge, temperature gauge, things like that. The left-hand side will be your infotainment systems. One thing that's not in there is navigation. We're not supplying navigation with this vehicle. We're giving you Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, so you can plug your phone in and use Google Maps, Apple Maps, whichever one you prefer to use. Always up to date is the reason for that. In front of the steering wheel here, we have a small information panel, and that's just warning lights. That's going to be telltales for your indicators, main beam headlights, engine management lights, indicator for diff lock being activated, things like that. So it's nice and easy to see it in front of the vehicle. Okay, let's have a quick look in the back doors. Nothing overly exciting back here, but you've got some nice rear seating, the same Recaro seating. Now at launch next year, we're going to have 3 models. But this is the 5-seat passenger vehicle. There'll be a 5-seat commercial and a 2-seat commercial. The big difference between the 5-seat passenger and the 5-seat commercial is this rear seat. In the commercial vehicle, it will be a little bit further forward, 70 millimeters further forward, and the back is a little bit more upright on the back here. And that's purely to allow us to have a 1-ton load carrying capacity in the rear of the vehicle. Now on the exterior, we'll have a look at the roof rails up here. These will hold 150 kilos in motion, 385 kilos static. That means you could put a roof tent up here with probably 3 big guys sleeping in it, and it's going to be quite happy to do that. Lashing points on the side. These are great for tying things down to. You can also use them to pull yourself up on the steps to get to your load up here if you need to. Now in terms of wheels and tyres, a couple of options. 17-inch or 18-inch is the choice. You have an option of a steel or an alloy in each size, and an off-road tyre, which is the BF Goodrich seen on this vehicle here, or the standard tyre will be a Bridgestone Jeweller 2 tyre, which is a bit like an extreme winter tyre. Does a great job off-road as well. Let's head around the back of the vehicle now. Look at the load space and the rear of the vehicle. All vehicles come with a full-size spare wheel mounted on the back door. This one has the optional storage box on here. Unlock it, the flap comes down. You can put work gloves, toe straps, wet, dirty, smelly stuff, things you don't want to put on the inside of the vehicle in there. A nice, useful option. Tow bar will come out down here with a bracket that allows you to mount most modern tow bar options on there, and you'll be able to tow 3.5 tons with this vehicle. Back door has the optional ladder on here as well. Quite a nice, useful feature for getting up to roof rack and rail systems up there. And when it comes to the rear doors, the small door always opens first. Some practical reasons for that. If you just want to grab a jacket or throw a bag in here, it's nice and easy to get in. You have to open the big door. If somebody's parked really close behind you in the car park, you can still get in here to get things in and out. And again, if you're towing, there's going to be a jockey wheel here somewhere. You're not going to open this big door. You can still get in the back of the vehicle through the small door. Now when it comes to opening the big door, it's really simple. One finger, I can push it out all the way. It's very balanced, very easy. Goes onto the stop at the end, doesn't bounce back at me. It's a big heavy structure, but actually it's very, very easy to move. In the back of the vehicle, you'll see it's a big square opening. The doors go back over 90 degrees. That enables you to use a loader to put a pallet in here if you want to in the commercial versions, and you'll fit a 1-ton loaded pallet in that space. Again, a waterproof material in here. There's another bung underneath here. You can take the bung out, wash everything out, let the water run out. A few little changes. These lashing points here are being raised up a little bit further to make them more practical. They're going to be flush with the top. And I think we're going to see some storage boxes and options around the side of the vehicle here. But that's very much the vehicle.
And thank you for the tour.
No problem at all.
We're really excited to be partnering with INEOS. And certainly Grenadier, we're expecting first deliveries, hopefully Q3 of...
Early Q3 next year is first deliveries, yes.
So yeah, so keep up to date with us for further updates.